What happens when America's country music queen comes face-to-face with late-night television's golden boy? And when a simple interview turns into the most explosive television moment of the year? Tonight, we're diving deep into the shocking confrontation that had millions of viewers glued to their screens and left the entire entertainment industry buzzing. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think really caused this heated exchange. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single word of what went down. The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, was supposed to be just another routine promotional appearance. Reba McEntire, the undisputed queen of country music, was there to talk about her latest album, her upcoming tour dates, and maybe share a few laughs with America's favorite late-night host. The audience was packed with fans. The cameras were rolling. Everything seemed perfectly normal. As Jimmy introduced his guest with his trademark enthusiasm, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incredible, the legendary Reba McEntire. Reba walked out waving to the cheering crowd. She looked stunning in a flowing burgundy dress, her signature red hair perfectly styled. Every inch the seasoned performer who had conquered both country music and Broadway stages. Reba, welcome back to the show, Jimmy said as he rose from behind his desk for the customary hug. You look absolutely fantastic. How are you feeling? I'm doing wonderful, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having me back, Reba replied, her famous smile lighting up the stage as she settled into the guest chair. It's always such a pleasure to be here. Well, we are thrilled to have you, Jimmy continued. I have to say your new album is incredible. I've been listening to it non-stop. The vocals, the storytelling, everything about it is just pure magic. He held up a copy of the album for the cameras. Tell us about the inspiration behind this collection of songs. Reba leaned forward slightly, her eyes brightening. Well, you know, Jimmy, this album is really about authentic storytelling. It's about real experiences, real emotions, and connecting with people through honest music. In today's world, I think we've lost some of that authenticity, especially in the entertainment industry. Absolutely, Jimmy agreed. And speaking of authenticity, I have to ask about something that's been all over social media lately. His tone shifted. There's been some talk about country music artists and their political views and how that affects their music and their fan base. What are your thoughts on that? The question seemed simple, but something subtle changed in Reba's expression. Her smile tightened just a little. She took a moment before responding. Jimmy, I've always believed that music should bring people together, not divide them. My job is to entertain, to tell stories that resonate with people regardless of their personal beliefs or political affiliations. Right, absolutely, Jimmy said. But then he pressed on. But don't you think artists have a responsibility to speak out on important issues? I mean, you have such a massive platform, such influence. Shouldn't you use that to make a difference? Reba's posture straightened. Her tone became more measured. Jimmy, I've been in this business for over 40 years. I've learned that when you start telling people how to think or how to vote, you're not respecting their intelligence or their right to make their own decisions. My fans are smart people. They don't need me to tell them what to believe. But surely, there are some issues that are just right and wrong. Jimmy insisted, his casual demeanor masking a more pointed direction. Climate change, social justice, equality. These aren't political issues, they're human issues, don't you think? The audience felt the tension tightening. Reba's trademark warmth shifted into something cooler, more guarded. Jimmy, with respect, I think you're oversimplifying some very complex issues, she replied. Life isn't as black and white as Hollywood likes to pretend it is. There are good people on all sides of these debates, and they deserve to have their voices heard and their perspectives respected. Well, sure, Jimmy said, still pushing forward. But when we're talking about basic human rights, don't you think there's a moral obligation to stand up for what's right? Your fans look up to you. They trust you. And that's exactly why I'm careful about what I say, Reba answered firmly. Because I respect them enough not to abuse that trust by pushing my personal agenda on them. They come to my concerts to escape from all the noise and division for a few hours. To feel connected to something beautiful and meaningful. That's what music is supposed to do. Jimmy leaned back. For a moment. It seemed like he might shift gears, but then he said the words that changed everything. I just find it interesting that someone with your platform chooses to stay neutral on issues that affect so many people. Some might say that's a privilege not everyone can afford. The audience went silent. The challenge lingered in the air. Reba's eyes flashed her grandmother's steel backbone rising to the surface. The same strength that carried her through decades in a male-dominated industry. Jimmy, she said slowly, her voice calm but edged with warning. You need to stop right there. I'm sorry, I don't understand, Jimmy replied, though his smile was beginning to look forced. I'm just asking questions I think our audience is curious about. No. You're not asking questions, Reba said, her famous composure beginning to crack. You're making accusations. You're suggesting that because I don't broadcast my every political opinion, I'm somehow failing my fans or shirking some responsibility. And frankly, I find that not only presumptuous, but incredibly insulting. The studio audience fell dead silent. This was no longer the light-hearted banter they had come to see. There was something raw and uncomfortable in the air, something utterly unprecedented from either of these beloved entertainers. Reba. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Jimmy tried to backtrack, but the damage was already done. I have nothing but respect for you and your career. I'm just saying that in times like these, silence can sometimes be interpreted as what? Reba cut him off, her voice rising for the first time. As cowardice, as complicity. She leaned forward, her eyes burning. Jimmy, let me tell you something about silence. Sometimes silence is wisdom. Sometimes silence is respect for people's right to think for themselves. And sometimes silence is knowing when to keep your mouth shut instead of lecturing people. You don't even know about subjects you clearly don't understand. The tension in Studio 6B was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jimmy's famous quick wit had abandoned him as he struggled to regain control of what was rapidly spiraling into a public relations nightmare. But Reba wasn't finished. You want to talk about privilege, Jimmy? Her voice grew stronger, filled with the same commanding power that had claimed stages from the Grand Ole Opry to Broadway. Let me tell you about privilege. Privilege is sitting behind that desk in your $1 million studio. In your designer suits, surrounded by writers and producers who tell you exactly what to say and how to say it. Then having the audacity to lecture a woman who has worked her tail off for 4 decades about moral responsibility. Jimmy's face began to flush red. The audience sensed this was spiraling completely out of control. But they were riveted and able to look away from the collision of two entertainment titans. Reba, you're taking this way too personally, he insisted. I'm not attacking you. I'm just You're just what? Reba snapped, her Oklahoma accent growing sharper with her rising anger. You're just doing your job. You're just asking tough questions. She leaned in. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a real conversation with someone who disagrees with you politically? When was the last time you sat down with a farmer in Iowa? Or a factory worker in Michigan? Or a single mother in Alabama and actually listened to what they had to say instead of telling them what they should think? I talk to people from all walks of life. Jimmy protested weakly. Even he seemed to hear how hollow it sounded. My show represents everyone. We welcome all viewpoints. Reba let out a humorless laugh. Your show welcomes all viewpoints. Jimmy, your show is a liberal echo chamber masquerading as mainstream entertainment. You and your writers make jokes about half the country. And then you act surprised when those people feel alienated and disconnected from the entertainment industry. You want to know why there's division in this country? Look in the mirror. Asterisk, the cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this meltdown. Producers in the control room were surely scrambling, but there was no stopping it. This was live television at its most raw and volatile. Asterisk, that's completely unfair. Jimmy snapped back, his nice guy persona finally cracking. We make fun of everyone equally. We're comedians, that's what we do. And frankly, I think you're being a little hypersensitive. Asterisk, the word hit like gasoline on a fire. Reba's eyes blazed with fury. Hypersensitive. She repeated, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Did you just call me hypersensitive for standing up for my fans and my values? Asterisk, I didn't mean it like that, Jimmy stammered. I just think maybe you're overreacting to what was meant to be a friendly conversation about important issues. Asterisk, friendly conversation. Reba stood up from her chair, suddenly towering with stage-honed authority. Jimmy, there was nothing friendly about what you just did. You invited me on your show to promote my music. Then you ambushed me with a political interrogation designed to make me look bad if I don't give you the answers you want. Asterisk, nobody ambushed you, Jimmy said, his voice rising. These are legitimate questions your fans deserve answers to. If you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. Asterisk, the audience gasped. Jimmy had crossed a line no interviewer should ever cross, especially with someone of Reba McEntire's stature. Asterisk, but instead of exploding, Reba went utterly still. Her expression turned ice cold. If I can't handle tough questions, she repeated quietly, her voice carrying the weight of decades in show business. Jimmy, I've been handling tough questions since before you were old enough to stay up late enough to watch television. I've been grilled about everything, my divorce, my business decisions, my parenting. I've faced executives who told me I was too old, too independent. I have performed through personal tragedies that would have broken other people. Asterisk, she took a step toward the desk. So don't you dare suggest I can't handle tough questions. Asterisk, then answer them. Jimmy shot back, digging himself deeper. If you're so tough, if you're so experienced, then stop deflecting and give your fans straight answers about where you stand on the issues that matter. Asterisk, the issues that matter to whom? Reba demanded. To you. To your writers. To the people in your Manhattan bubble who think they know what's best for everyone else. Asterisk, she shook her head. Jimmy, my fans care about their families, their jobs, their communities. They care about music that speaks to their hearts. They don't need me to validate their political beliefs or tell them how to vote. They're intelligent adults who can think for themselves. She paused, eyes locked on his. But surely, asterisk,